Tachibana-sa once had a happy family. However, one day, her journalist father mysteriously committed suicide. At the scene, the body of her father's colleague was also found, stabbed multiple times. Her father's DNA was on the murder weapon, leading the police to conclude he killed his colleague and then himself out of guilt. Tachibana-sa and her mother didn't believe he was capable of such actions and repeatedly requested the police to reopen the investigation. But the case was closed, citing conclusive evidence. Thus, Tachibana-sa became known as the murderer's daughter. At school, she was bullied and ostracized for this reason. Unable to bear the stares, she often hid in the restroom. Even there, classmates tormented her. She returned to class covered in mess, her desk vandalized with abusive words. Amidst the bullying, a girl named Rina took Tachibana-sa away. Rina, a wealthy heiress, believed Tachibana-sa's father was not a murderer, recalling his patience and tolerance when interviewing at her father's company. Tachibana-sa was grateful for Rina's support, and they became inseparable friends, sharing lunches and piano practice. When girls tried to humiliate Tachibana-sa with red ink, Rina defended her, pouring the ink on herself instead, causing the others to scream in shock while Rina smiled angelically at Tachibana-sa. The next day, when Tachibana-sa was targeted for a prank, Inoue, the popular senior, stepped in to help, which touched her. However, Rina warned her to stay away from Inoue, calling him bad news. Trusting Rina, Tachibana-sa distanced herself from Inoue. One day, Rina suddenly asked to meet Tachibana-sa in the piano classroom after school. When Tachibana-sa arrived, she found Rina covered in blood, holding a bloody pair of scissors, with the piano teacher lifeless in a pool of blood. Trembling, Tachibana-sa asked Rina what had happened. Rina kicked her down. It turned out the piano teacher had merely commented that Rina's playing lacked emotion, prompting Rina to kill her. Rina planned to frame Tachibana-sa as the murderer who committed suicide out of guilt. Remembering her father, Tachibana-sa accused Rina of being involved in his case. Rina didn't respond, but smiled angelically, stabbed Tachibana-sa again, placed the knife in her hand, and set the classroom on fire. The next day, media reported Tachibana-sa as a high school student who killed her teacher and then committed suicide. However, Tachibana-sa survived, fueled by hatred for Rina. 14 years later, she had undergone plastic surgery, changed her name and identity, and sought revenge. By then, Rina had become a famous pianist and a new mother. Tachibana-sa applied to be her nanny, unrecognizable to Rina. With an impressive resume and deep knowledge of classical music, Tachibana-sa impressed Rina. Although Rina disliked her beauty and subtly rejected her citing lack of experience, Tachibana-sa argued she had all necessary childcare certifications. As Rina went to soothe her crying child, Tachibana-sa surveyed her home, pained by Rina's happy photos, mourning the life she could have had. Suppressing her rage, Tachibana-sa deliberately brought up the high school murder case. Rina shockingly did not remember it. Rina dismissed her for lack of experience, but at that moment, the child began crying uncontrollably, and Rina could not calm him. After checking, Tachibana-sa discovered the child had a food allergy. She immediately contacted a pediatric specialist she knew, and the child quickly recovered after treatment. That evening, Rina told her husband about the incident. Her husband, Inoue, the senior from school, praised the nanny for noticing the allergy, highlighting her reliable skills. He suggested Rina could safely hire Tachibana-sa. Convinced by her husband, Rina called Tachibana-sa to start work the next day. Tachibana-sa's plan for revenge had begun successfully, with Rina unsuspecting and trusting her with the child. Once Rina left the house, Tachibana-sa began her search for clues in the study of Rina's father, Kurokawa. Her research had shown that Kurokawa had taken leave on the days her father was murdered, and the day she and the piano teacher were burned. She suspected Kurokawa might have been Rina's accomplice. However, she only found books on criminal psychology and sociology in the study, and was caught by Kurokawa before she could investigate further. Fortunately, Rina returned at that moment and explained that Tachibana-sa was the new nanny, who hurriedly claimed she was just looking for childcare items. Rina seemed not to delve deeper, but Kurokawa later advised Rina to be cautious with Tachibana-sa. Rina responded with her signature angelic smile and said not to worry, as they could cut it off if necessary. Despite her reassurance, Rina had cameras installed at home for the child's safety. That night, Tachibana-sa reported her findings to an ally who believed there was no substantial evidence in Rina's house, and the installed cameras complicated Tachibana-sa's movements. He suggested she look for clues in Kurokawa's office instead. The next day, Tachibana-sa arrived at Kurokawa's office. After searching, she found a locked cabinet and broke it open using a mop. Inside were many documents, including a psychiatric evaluation of Rina at age 10 and a CT scan of her brain. Shockingly, there were several research journals written by Kurokawa detailing each of Rina's murders. While Tachibana-sa was stunned, she heard Kurokawa outside. She quickly hid, and when Kurokawa entered, she knocked him out and tied him up. When Kurokawa awoke, Tachibana-sa revealed her identity and how Rina had destroyed her family. She accused him of being involved in Rina's crimes. Kurokawa pretended to be ignorant, so Tachibana-sa poured a bucket of gasoline on him, threatening to burn him if he didn't tell the truth. Panicked, Kurokawa admitted to covering up for Rina but denied involvement in the murders. When asked about Rina's motive, he claimed ignorance but expressed being tormented by her murderous nature, considering himself a victim. Tachibana-sa angrily declared herself the true victim. Her life turned into hell by Rina. She then forced Kurokawa to record a confession with a voice recorder. However, she didn't rush to hand the evidence to the police, intending to torment Rina gradually and make her suffer immensely. An unexpected complication arose. Rina's husband, Inoue, who was Tachibana-sa's first love in high school, seemed to recognize her. He felt her demeanor resembled his love from 14 years ago. Fortunately for Tachibana-sa, her appearance had drastically changed due to plastic surgery. She explained that perhaps the resemblance was because she and Inoue came from the same hometown. Rina came downstairs to greet her husband. Inoue mentioned his suspicion to his wife, causing Rina to instantly lose her smile and stare intensely at Tachibana-sa, with a fierce, murderous intent in her eyes. Upon hearing they were from the same hometown, Rina quickly invited Tachibana-sa to stay for dinner. With no excuses left, Tachibana-sa had to dine awkwardly with her enemy. At the table, Rina and Inoue appeared very affectionate with their child. Learning Rina would be on a business trip for a week, Tachibana-sa watched the family, reminded painfully of her own family's once happy dinners, deepening her hatred for Rina. Tachibana-sa had evidence that could send Rina to prison, including a video recorded by Kurokawa after Rina killed the piano teacher and tried to burn Tachibana-sa. In the video, Rina described her actions against Tachibana-sa. Unable to watch further, Tachibana-sa shut off the computer, thinking that simply handing Rina over to the police would be letting her off too easily. She wanted Rina to experience the despair and pain of losing a loved one. Her ally suggested they use Rina's business trip as an opportunity to release negative information about her on social media, distracting her so much that she wouldn't be able to focus on her home. This would give Tachibana-sa the chance to kill Rina's beloved child. The next day, as Rina left to shoot a commercial, she encountered a homeless man collecting bottles. Wanting to appear kind, she helped him, but he was ungrateful. Rina maintained a smile, but remembered the slight. Meanwhile, Tachibana-sa's ally had already released the damaging information about Rina. Upon receiving the news, Tachibana-sa acted. She used a potted plant to block the camera, then picked up a pillow to smother the child. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was Rina calling to check on her child, but the camera was blocked by the plant. Tachibana-sa had no choice but to move the potted plant, missing her chance to kill the child. Meanwhile, Rina's agent saw a viral video exposing Rina's rant about never using the cosmetics she endorsed due to their chemical additives, though she pretended otherwise for the endorsement. The leak quickly led to public backlash, termination of her contract, and a lawsuit from the cosmetics company. Devastated by the loss of her job, Rina calmed down and began to analyze the video to identify the leaker. It had been secretly filmed at a cafe while celebrating with friends after a shoot 6 months earlier. Suspecting one of her close friends, but unable to pinpoint who, she dismissed the idea of harming them all. Frustrated, Rina decided to vent her anger by killing the homeless man who had ignored her during the day. After work, Tachibana-sa discussed the day's progress in her revenge plan with her ally. It was revealed that she had filmed the explosive video after tracking Rina and pretending to be a part-time cafe worker. With Rina facing public outrage and legal challenges, her ally urged Tachibana-sa to quickly kill the child, to which she agreed. The next day, Rina made a tearful apology on a live broadcast, claiming she had been misled by rumors and confirming the cosmetics were free of chemicals, claiming she had always used them herself. The effective performance not only regained her public favor, but also led the cosmetics company to drop the lawsuit and renew their partnership. After Rina left, Tachibana-sa instructed her ally to tamper with the camera. Her ally hacked into the camera system and displayed a loop of Tachibana-sa comforting the child, deceiving Rina. Tachibana-sa took the child to the bathroom, intending to drown him. However, she found herself unable to go through with it and ended up holding the child and crying, apologizing to him. Her plan had undoubtedly failed again. Rina returned to work happily and visited her husband's flower shop, hoping he would close early to celebrate her successful comeback. However, Inoue had just received a large order and could not leave. Rina went home feeling depressed, and the child's continuous crying only worsened her mood. Frustrated, she furiously chopped on the cutting board. Upstairs, Tachibana-sa heard the noise and checked the surveillance camera. She saw Rina walking towards the child with a knife in hand. Tachibana-sa immediately rushed downstairs. Luckily, Rina's husband called just in time, preventing Rina from harming their child. Tachibana-sa, who was nearby, broke out in a cold sweat. True to her nature as a murderer, Rina was even ready to kill her own child. This revelation forced Tachibana-sa to rethink her plan for revenge. They now needed to find Rina's true weakness, realizing there was no need to harm her child. They speculated that Rina could have killed the child and made it look like an accident, but she didn't, likely to avoid being labeled a negligent mother. Hence, she hired a nanny, presumably to pin the child's potential death on the nanny. The next day, Tachibana-sa went to work at Rina's house, where she placed a hot iron near the child and stepped away to test Rina's reaction. True to form, Rina tried to use the iron on the child as soon as Tachibana-sa left, but Tachibana intervened. Thwarted, Rina left the house after receiving a phone call. Tachibana-sa took this opportunity to search the house, trying to find what Rina valued most. She realized that neither money nor fame was of utmost importance to Rina. She then considered Rina's husband Inoue, but doubted that a woman willing to kill her child could deeply love her husband. Just then, Inoue returned home from work, hurriedly checking on the child, clearly a loving father. This scene led Tachibana-sa to a realization. She remembered a day when the child had started to roll over. She joyfully told Rina, whose indifferent response was not that of a caring mother. However, when Inoue came home, Rina pretended to be thrilled, sharing the news with him and even suggesting they buy a cake to celebrate. On their way, Inoue and the child were suddenly hit by a motorcycle. Rina's first reaction was not to check on her young child, but to rush to Inoue's side. Tachibana-sa finally realized that Rina truly cared about Inoue. The child was merely a tool for her to gain Inoue's love. Tachibana-sa initially wanted to kill Inoue to hurt Rina, but she felt that this was not the most painful form of revenge. The best approach was to show Inoue Rina's true nature as a murderer. Soon, an opportunity arose when Rina invited her friends over to celebrate a new endorsement. One friend brought goldfish as a gift, which sparked an idea in Tachibana-sa. She quietly discussed with Rina's friend about organizing a surprise for Rina's birthday, and the friend liked the idea. Tachibana-sa signaled her to get Inoue's approval. Excitedly, the friend shared the plan with Inoue, and Rina saw them talking. Rina confronted her friend, asking what they discussed in the yard. The friend lied, saying she was asking about which flowers to give. Inoue helped cover up the lie, easing Rina's suspicions. However, Rina's murderous intent did not fade. That night, she put the goldfish her friend had given into a blender. Tachibana-sa, who was observing, recorded this cruel act on her phone, thinking this video would reveal Rina's true nature to Inoue. But when she showed the video to Inoue, he was not surprised. He explained that Rina's strange behavior was due to stress, and although it seemed cruel to others, he understood and empathized with her. Tachibana-sa repeatedly tried to argue, but Inoue added that he had married Rina fully aware of her nature and was prepared to spend his life with her. After stating this, Inoue fired Tachibana-sa. The next day, Tachibana-sa stopped Inoue on his way from work to apologize for her intrusion. She explained that her shock and misunderstanding of Rina's actions were genuine. After hearing Inoue's explanation, she realized that Rina's suffering and struggles were far greater than she had imagined. Tachibana-sa presented a bouquet of camomiles as an apology, expressing her desire to support Rina just like Inoue. Moved by her sincerity, Inoue accepted the flowers and agreed to let her continue as the nanny. Inoue took the camomiles home, choosing not to tell Rina about Tachibana-sa and the video. However, Rina felt something was off when she saw him bring home camomiles for no apparent reason. The next day, Rina discreetly went near Inoue's flower shop and soon saw Tachibana-sa and the child entering the shop. It turned out, Tachibana-sa was discussing a birthday surprise for Rina with Inoue, as it was inconvenient to talk at home. They agreed to go shopping for the party together on Saturday. Although Rina did not know what Tachibana-sa and Inoue discussed, she grew suspicious of Tachibana-sa. Upon returning, Rina claimed she could smell Inoue on the child. Tachibana-sa quickly explained they had just been to the park, hence the floral scent. Rina listened to Tachibana-sa's lie without reacting, but inside, she harbored murderous intentions. The next day, Rina wanted to take her family to the beach for the weekend, but Inoue said he had to stay at the flower shop all day to prepare orders. He hurriedly left for the shop. There, he closed the door and discussed with Tachibana-sa the items to buy. After a brief chat, Inoue suddenly spotted Rina outside and quickly hid Tachibana-sa. Rina, pushing the child in a stroller, entered the shop, mentioning she brought an umbrella for Inoue because the weather forecast predicted rain. She looked around the shop before leaving. After watching Rina leave, Inoue and Tachibana-sa left the shop to go shopping. They spent the evening selecting items, and on their way back, they talked about their favorite mystery novels. Tachibana-sa remembered that in high school, their shared interest in a particular author had brought her and Inoue together. Inoue enjoyed reading novels while listening to Tachibana-sa play the piano. Unfortunately, their close relationship was disrupted by Rina's schemes, which ultimately destroyed Tachibana-sa's life. Rina, noticing that Inoue hadn't come home, went to the flower shop and found him absent, immediately suspecting Tachibana-sa. The next day at work, Rina probed Tachibana-sa about her whereabouts the previous day. Tachibana-sa claimed she hadn't gone anywhere, but her lie was quickly exposed. Rina saw a message on Tachibana-sa's phone from Inoue, thanking her for going shopping with him the day before. Realizing Inoue had been with Tachibana-sa, Rina could no longer contain her murderous intent. She picked up a kitchen knife and approached Tachibana-sa step by step, her expression mirroring that of 14 years ago when she had killed her. Just then, a group of people appeared with a surprise, causing Rina to drop the knife and join the celebration. Tachibana-sa breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing the knife on the floor. Tachibana-sa and Inoue had organized a surprise birthday party for Rina, who was very happy with the attention she received. However, she became uneasy when she saw Tachibana-sa and her husband laughing together, blowing pink bubbles. Already suspicious of their relationship, Rina grew more anxious, especially since she was about to leave on a week-long business trip. Fearing Tachibana-sa might take her husband in her absence, her friend Juria suggested installing more surveillance cameras at home and offered to help if Rina needed anything. Rina thanked her with a forced smile and left for her trip the next day feeling more at ease. Tachibana-sa watched her leave and then went to work at the house. An ally reminded her over the phone to fully gain Inoue's trust while Rina was away, even if it meant revealing her own identity. Tachibana-sa solemnly agreed and took care of the child as usual. Today was the child's 200th day, and Tachibana-sa enthusiastically took videos of Inoue and the child in the yard, making them look like a happy family of 3. During her break, Rina eagerly checked the surveillance footage, only to see an empty hallway. Inoue invited Tachibana-sa to stay for dinner as a thank you. However, Tachibana-sa became visibly distressed upon seeing the omelette rice. Inoue noticed her discomfort, and Tachibana-sa explained she disliked solid food because it gave her a strong feeling of suffocation. Inoue empathized, sharing that he had suffered from selective mutism as a child, which felt similar to suffocation. This shared experience inadvertently brought them closer. Curious about Inoue's childhood, Tachibana-sa spoke to Rina's father after work. Kurokawa revealed that Inoue moved near their home when he was 10, around the time he met Rina. Soon after, Inoue's mother was murdered, plunging him into prolonged grief, with the murderer still at large. Tachibana-sa was surprised to find Inoue's past so similar to hers. Inoue sent the day's videos and photos to Rina, who, upon seeing them, surmised that Inoue and Tachibana-sa had been together. She was immediately enraged and resolved to install more surveillance cameras at home the next day. The following morning, Rina's team installed cameras throughout the house. Anxiously checking her phone, Rina saw Tachibana-sa playing the piano, performing her favorite piece from high school. The music rekindled Inoue's memories of his first love, as Tachibana-sa's piano playing reminded him of his early romantic experiences. Rina, watching the surveillance, noticed the resemblance between the current Tachibana-sa and the one from 14 years ago. However, seeing Tachibana-sa and Inoue cooking together in the kitchen made her uneasy. She immediately instructed Juria to go to her house to keep an eye on them. Unaware of this, Inoue and Tachibana-sa were busy in the kitchen when Inoue added red wine to the pan, causing flames to flare up. Tachibana-sa fainted from the shock. When she woke up, Inoue wanted to call her family, but Tachibana-sa revealed she had been orphaned at a young age. Inoue was stunned, as he had also lost his mother at age 10 and had relied on Rina's encouragement to cope. Surprised by this revelation, Tachibana-sa wanted to ask more, but Juria arrived at the house. Inoue tried to go out to explain, but Tachibana-sa stopped him, saying it was better if she handled it. Rina, monitoring everything, saw Tachibana-sa chasing Juria out the door. Tachibana-sa tried to explain, but Juria praised her efforts instead. It turned out Juria was actually Tachibana-sa's ally. Tachibana-sa's plan for revenge seemed to be progressing at last. Originally, Juria was the piano teacher's sister. After the piano teacher was murdered, Juria always believed the killer was Tachibana-sa. It was only after Tachibana-sa survived by chance that she told Juria the real murderer was Rina. Since then, they formed an alliance for revenge. Juria became an internet celebrity to infiltrate Rina's close friends, while Tachibana-sa disguised herself as a nanny to infiltrate Rina's household. Together, they collaborated on their revenge against Rina. After leaving Rina's house, Juria received an immediate call from Rina asking about the situation. Juria told her that there was nothing between Tachibana-sa and Inoue. Tachibana-sa was just feeling unwell today, and Inoue had simply allowed her to rest at home. However, the always suspicious Rina did not believe Juria's words. After hanging up, she continued to watch the home surveillance. Tachibana-sa was packing up to leave work when Inoue suddenly grabbed her, startling them both. This action also alarmed Rina, who was watching. Tachibana-sa, too nervous to look at Inoue, thanked him and hastily grabbed her backpack, from which a pink water bottle fell out. Inoue bent down to pick it up for her. Seeing this scene, Rina felt a sense of déjà vu. Back in high school, Inoue had also helped Tachibana-sa pick up her water bottle. Their expressions now mirrored those from their high school days. Rina remembered that on Tachibana-sa's first day at her house, she had mentioned they were from the same hometown and had brought up a case from 14 years ago. Moreover, Tachibana-sa was also skilled at playing the piano. All these signs made Rina suspect that the nanny was actually Tachibana-sa, whom she had killed years ago. To confirm her suspicions, she needed to return home immediately. However, her next round of work had already started, so to stop working, she pushed a colleague down the stairs, using the incident as a reason to halt everything. Rina then hurried back home overnight. Upon returning, she didn't reveal herself immediately, but watched Tachibana-sa and Inoue from a window. Inoue was making coffee in the kitchen and asked Tachibana-sa if she wanted a cup. Tachibana-sa mentioned she preferred homemade honey ginger tea. Hearing this, Inoue was reminded of his first love, who also liked honey ginger tea, and even used the same type of water bottle as Tachibana-sa. Inoue always feels that Tachibana-sa resembles his first love too closely. The two enter the living room. Rina sneaks into the house to eavesdrop. Inoue reminisces about the days he spent with his first love. He has always regretted it, believing he betrayed her, but he no longer has the chance to apologize, as his first love passed away 14 years ago. Tachibana-sa, moved by Inoue's heartfelt words, cries uncontrollably. The once loved one is right before her eyes, yet they cannot recognize each other. Rina, furious at their longing looks, makes a noise to interrupt their deep gaze. After work, Tachibana-sa thinks long and hard, and finally confesses to Juria, saying she cannot use Inoue to get revenge on Rina, since she and Inoue truly loved each other. Juria does not blame her, and suggests that Tachibana-sa take a leave of absence from visiting Rina's house, then they can replan their revenge. Tachibana-sa agrees. Rina returns home before Tachibana-sa gets off work. Inoue is surprised she came home early. She smiles, saying a colleague got injured, so she came back. Back in her room, Rina takes out a photo with Tachibana-sa from 14 years ago, showing a sinister smile filled with murderous intent. The next day, Tachibana-sa asks Rina for leave. Rina questions what she plans to do. After speaking, Rina walks to the window and pulls up all the curtains, then grabs scissors from the table and points them at Tachibana-sa, forcing her to admit her identity. Tachibana-sa firmly denies it and counters Rina, asking why she suspects her identity. Rina suddenly grabs Tachibana-sa by the neck and reveals, 14 years ago, her best friend committed suicide by jumping into the sea, but the body was never found. The way Tachibana-sa speaks and plays the piano is identical to her friend's, making Rina suspect that her friend faked her death and has now returned after undergoing plastic surgery to become Tachibana-sa. Rina deliberately prods the spot where she once stabbed Tachibana-sa and asks her, "Are you really just a nanny?" As she speaks, she picks up the scissors and aims them at her own child. Tachibana-sa reacts unexpectedly, hugging the child and stating that if Rina does not trust her, she can quit immediately. But she pleads with Rina to take good care of the child. Rina stares silently, her eyes showing disdain. Tachibana-sa hands over the childcare journal to Rina, who scoffs and tears up the journal, mocking Tachibana-sa for trying to instruct her. "The child is the product of my love with Inoue, not your business to meddle in." Tachibana-sa retorts that she had the child only to tie down Inoue, not as a product of love. She continues to list Rina's failings as a mother. Provoked, Rina curses at Tachibana-sa, grabs the scissors, and prepares to harm both Tachibana-sa and the child. At that critical moment, Inoue returns. Rina instantly switches to drama mode, drops the scissors, and starts acting. She accuses Tachibana-sa of wanting to harm the child, claiming she took the scissors only to protect the child, and calls for the police to arrest Tachibana-sa. Inoue coldly states that he already knows about Rina's actions. Rina panics, not understanding what Inoue is talking about. Tachibana-sa adds that it's about the crimes Rina has committed so far. It turns out that last night, Tachibana-sa and Juria confessed everything to Inoue. They called Inoue home, laid out Rina's crimes, and their plan for revenge. Inoue is shocked by the pile of evidence. Tachibana-sa first shows him a video of Rina confessing to killing Tachibana-sa's father and piano teacher, and framing Tachibana-sa. She says these are the crimes Rina committed against her and Juria. 14 years after her supposed death by drowning, she had undergone plastic surgery and changed her identity, teaming up with Juria for revenge. Inoue never expected that Tachibana-sa was actually his first love. Tachibana-sa says they have waited a long time for revenge. They could have used Inoue to get back at Rina, letting her face societal punishment, but considering it would unfairly label the innocent child as a murderer's daughter, they decided to give all evidence of Rina's crimes to Inoue, letting him personally expose Rina's wrongdoings. After saying this, Tachibana-sa hands a USB drive with the evidence to Inoue. Inoue decides to take Rina to turn herself in. At this point, Tachibana-sa drops her act, reveals the scar from when Rina stabbed her, and admits she is the Tachibana-sa who came back to life 14 years ago. Rina pushes Tachibana-sa away and continues to lie, begging Inoue to believe her. Inoue takes out a USB drive and tells Rina to stop pretending. Rina, still not giving up, rushes to her child and melodramatically pleads, saying the child can't be without a mother. Inoue also stops pretending. He says he had realized long ago that Rina does not love this home or her child. He thought he and the child could gradually awaken her maternal love, but it proved impossible. He has decided to raise the child alone, and Rina must pay for her crimes. Rina collapses to the floor, crying hysterically, then laughs and challenges Tachibana-sa, asking if she really thinks she has completed her revenge. She picks up scissors and lunges at Tachibana-sa. Just in time, Juria intervenes to stop Rina. After calming Rina down, Inoue confiscates Rina's phone. He plans to submit the phone along with the USB drive as evidence, and after consulting with his lawyer, he will immediately take Rina to surrender. Finally, he assures Tachibana-sa and Juria that he will give them an explanation. Soon after, a lawyer calls Inoue. Knowing it is the lawyer, Rina asks Inoue for a hug before he takes the call. After the call, Inoue returns to the room and finds that Rina is gone. He quickly checks his pocket and discovers the USB drive is missing. It seems Rina took the USB drive during the hug. Tachibana-sa and Jiraiya notice the window is open. Rina must have escaped through the window. In an instant, both the physical evidence and the witness are gone. Inoue asked Tachibana-sa and Jiraiya to take care of the children at home while he went to retrieve Rina and the USB drive. On the way, his father-in-law Kurokawa suddenly called him. Inoue informed him that Rina had run away with the USB drive. Kurokawa immediately offered to go to the police station with Inoue to testify and expose all of Rina's crimes. They met in the car, and Inoue unexpectedly fell asleep after drinking coffee handed to him by Kurokawa. It turned out that Kurokawa was instructed by Rina to abduct Inoue. Rina also directed Kurokawa to target Tachibana-sa next. Rina called Tachibana-sa, claiming she would reveal the truth about her father's death, but only if Tachibana-sa came alone. Having longed for 14 years to understand her father's murder motive, Tachibana-sa went alone, deceiving Jiraiya. However, she did not find Rina at the meeting place. Instead, she encountered Kurokawa holding a hammer. Kurokawa bluntly stated that Rina ordered him to kill Tachibana-sa. In a critical moment, Inoue appeared and intercepted Kurokawa. Inoue had suspected Kurokawa and had not fallen for his trick the previous night. Pretending to be asleep, he overheard Rina's plan to have Kurokawa kill Tachibana-sa. The plan failed, and Kurokawa fled, fearing Rina would soon find him. Meanwhile, Jiraiya was at home taking care of the children. In just a moment of grabbing a milk bottle, Rina sneaked into the house. Jiraiya confronted her, questioning why she wanted to kill her brother, especially since it happened 14 years ago. Rina nonchalantly said she had forgotten about it, claiming the USB drive was more important to Jiraiya. Angry, Jiraiya rushed to grab the USB drive, but was stabbed by Rina. Watching Jiraiya struggle in pain, Rina excitingly recalled the reason for killing her brother. Struggling, Jiraiya crawled towards the scissors, but Rina brutally stomped on her and then stabbed her again in the back. Inoue soon received the news that Jiraiya had been stabbed by Rina, who also took the child. Tachibana-sa and Inoue immediately rushed to the hospital where a dying Jiraiya urged Tachibana-sa to ensure revenge. Meanwhile, Rina, pushing a child in a stroller, arrived at Kurokawa's office just as he was planning to flee the country. She caught him and menacingly approached him with a knife. Soon after, Inoue received news that Kurokawa was out of the picture and feared Rina would continue her killing spree. He realized he must urgently find and stop her. Tachibana-sa asked how to locate Rina. Inoue suggested she must still be nearby and hesitantly revealed a shocking secret to Tachibana-sa. He had lost his mother at a young age because he had asked Rina to kill her. This was Rina's first murder, possibly marking the start of her becoming a serial killer. Tachibana-sa was stunned to learn that the murderous Rina had killed her own father and fled with crucial evidence. Inoue believed Rina might be hiding at the playground where they first met as children, also the site of her first murder. Together, Inoue and Tachibana-sa went to the playground to search for Rina. When Inoue had moved to the area as a child, he was isolated due to his mutism and other children avoided him. He eventually found Rina, similarly ostracized. Rina told him she planned to live at the playground and asked him to keep his distance. Instead, Inoue declared it his secret base too, pulling out a trampoline toy he had hidden there. Inoue asked Rina why she chose to live there. She explained that after killing an insect, her father called her a monster, prompting her to run away from home. Inoue wrote in his notebook about adults being stuffed into washing machines, helping Rina realize his life was no easier than hers. Thus, two miserable children became close friends, finding solace in each other's company. Back to the present, Inoue and Tachibana-sa searched but couldn't find Rina, indicating she wasn't in the vicinity. Concerned for Tachibana-sa's safety, Inoue suggested she stop following him in search of Rina. However, Tachibana-sa, having sought revenge for 10 episodes, refused to give up, insisting on confronting Rina together with Inoue. Inoue recalled the first time Rina killed. He often noticed unexplained bloodstains on her, which she calmly explained came from accidentally cutting a pigeon while clipping its feathers. Confused, Inoue saw Rina vent loudly on the trampoline. He comforted her with his notebook, reassuring her that she wasn't a monster and that those were lies from her father. Rina was relieved to have someone on her side. Soon, Rina noticed bruises on Inoue, which were from his mother's abuse. Inoue, afraid and obedient to his mother, would instantly leave Rina and return home whenever his mother commanded. Rina felt robbed by Inoue's mother and started plotting to eliminate her. One day, Rina brought a gift to Inoue's mother and then fatally attacked her while unnoticed, hiding the evidence in her bag before fleeing. Inoue witnessed this as he returned home but did not confront her. When Inoue discovered his mother's death at home, he realized Rina was the killer. The police later questioned him about any suspicious persons, but Inoue lied to them. His mother's death strangely restored his speech. He kept Rina's crime a secret, and their bond deepened. They eventually married and became a family. Later, Inoue stumbled upon Rina's secret social media account. The nickname was the anniversary of his mother's death. Since her first murder, Rina had been hiding her true feelings and vulnerabilities, expressing them only through this account. Inoue had been monitoring a specific account, observing Rina's psychological changes. He hoped Rina would gradually reform, but he noticed no change in her behavior. Suddenly, Rina posted a photo of an abandoned piano, which they recognized as the classroom where Rina had killed her piano teacher. They immediately rushed to the classroom. Upon arrival, they found Rina in a daze with the child, who suddenly began to cry. Rina, angered, picked up the child intending to throw her from the building, but couldn't go through with it and put her back down. Once calmed, Rina began to play the piano, and while playing, she reflected on herself, questioning how she, a monster, could possibly be a mother. After a brief moment of introspection, she quickly changed her demeanor. Just then, Tachibana-sa and Inoue arrived.